Get ready for a trip down memory lane in the latest Star Trek Prodigy episode. While this episode may be very reminiscent of the Star Trek Voyager episode Shattered, it is not. But it is one episode that tests our crew dynamic aboard the Protostar, as well as having a few more shock twists and turns. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get straight into it. Episode 8 of Star Trek Prodigy is titled Time Amok, sending us down another reminder of the original series episode, Amok Time. The official description reads as follows. When the USS Protostar is fractured in time by an anomaly, hologram Jamie must synchronize with disjointed crew and save their ship before it destructs. As I mentioned earlier, this is very much reminiscent of Star Trek Prodigy meets Voyager's Shattered episode. The episode was written by Nikhil S. Joram and directed by Olga Unvar and Sung Shin. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. Okay, so starting off, fun little fact, aside from the episode Kobayashi, this is the first episode that gives us a star date for the events taking place, allowing us to place this episode better on the other events. The star date presented is 607125.6, however, there is a little twist, as time would suggest. Aaron Walt, executive producer of Star Trek Prodigy, tells us via Twitter that Janeway's temporal settings are distorted, and therefore this is not the correct date. Keep that in mind. For those curious, the actual stardate will be shown off in the final episode of Prodigy. Whether it's the final one of Season 1 Part 1 or Season 1 as a whole, not sure. Let's quickly talk about some important moments in this episode. As last week alluded, the double-crossing Ferengi was going to contact with Diviner and give up information about the USS Protostar's location. This is exactly what happened, with the Diviner now being aware. However, the problem is that the ship is too far away, reinforcing the fact that the proto-engine did indeed take the ship and crew quite some distance. The Diviner's plan to send Dreadnock is an interesting one because it shows that both of them can still access a Protostar's systems, even from this far out. Dreadnock boarding the USS Protostar seems to be a recurring trend within Star Trek Prodigy. Not only did he attempt to do so in the series' premiere episode, but thanks to recovered data from the computer, we also know that he previously boarded the Protostar when it was under the command of Captain Chakotay. These last two attempts have not gone well, it would seem. Now, a moment I found really interesting, and one that opens up a big theory for me, was Dreadnock impersonating Chakotay's voice.
Computer erase Janeway holoprogram. Authorization Chakotay. Zulu. X-ray dash 475.
No!
Commit.
To have the Protostar computer delete the hologram Janeway program. This plot point here opens up numerous questions. Much like Data fabricating Picard's voice in The Next Generation,
Computer, establish a security code for access to all functions previously transferred to bridge. Computer, initiate cascade sequence, accepting instructions from Commander Data en route.
Here we see Dreadnock doing the same thing, also using Chakotay's personal command codes, which raises some big questions at hand. Not only did Dreadnock deal a blow to Janeway with deleting her program and suggesting she does not understand what actually happened, but he also told Gwyn that she was her father's greatest mistake. Now we know about Dreadnock having access to the command codes would be explained by the fact he did previously board the ship. Additionally, Valkanat blocks were placed in the Protostar's main computer, therefore further reinforcing the idea that both the Diviner and Dreadnock can control elements of the starship, or seemingly influence it. This does open a ton of questions and one main theory surrounding Chakotay and Dreadnock, which we'll be exploring in another video very soon. Keep an eye out for that one. Even by the end of the episode, it shows that Dreadnock, thanks to the time anomaly, is not fully defeated, or rather this copy of him as his head is still on board the ship. I guess he really got ahead of the situation. Rock Talk was a shining light of this episode. The young shy character really proved itself in the latest episode, adding further development to the character. While I originally put Rock off to the side as being too childish in a sense, it turns out that she's mainly just afraid and not sure of her own ability. The heart-wrenching moment for me, and most viewers I think, was learning that Rock was left alone for such a long time on board the Protostar, all by herself during the time anomaly incident. Jamie was eventually restored and even reveals at the end of the episode that Rock was alone for far too long. I'm really thinking this episode of Prodigy was needed to bring the crew together, and have them work together more efficiently for the sake of the crew. Of course, the revelation to hologram Janeway that Dal and his crew are not actually Starfleet cadets was one I did not expect so soon, but it was bound to happen at some point. Whether Janeway wants to do anything about this remains to be seen though. This week's episode is all about team building and working together efficiently, starting off with hologram Janeway attempting to teach the young crew what it's like to be efficient and complete her holo training program of a fox, a chicken and a bag of grain trying to cross a river, which you can imagine does not go as well as expected. Murph even steals the boat. Due to the time anomaly that takes place, each member of the crew is separated in their own fracture. While hologram Janeway is still able to move between each fracture, the young crew have to work out how to save the Protostar and everyone else. Jankum is the first to go, as his fracture is close to the proto-engine breach. Zero eventually works out that they need to use a warp matrix, but is unable to complete the task in time. Therefore Janeway takes the task to Dal, who sadly runs out of time due to missing a valuable component. This component is later found by Dreadnock, showing that once again he knows more about the ship than everyone else on board. Gwyn does decide to fight Dreadnock, rather than seeing to the core breach right away. The fight is where we get the earlier problem of him deleting hologram Janeway, meaning after Gwyn solves the problem of Dreadnock by venting him into space, she leaves a log for Rok-Tahk to find, allowing Rok to fix the ship and bring the crew back. Even though all the crew are separated, we see them come together to help each other out and ultimately fix what's happening to them. A nice well-rounded conclusion I would say. Oh, did you see the Starfleet Delta screws? Blink and you might miss a scene as I only caught it in my second rewatch. Thinking about this episode, it worked really well. Not only for the point of forcing the crew to work together, but also further expanding the villain story. Both the Divine and Dreadnock aboard the Rev 12 are still out and about looking for the Protostar, yet learning it is now months away. It does make us question how they're going to catch up with the crew to capture the starship. With the ending, Dreadnock is still somewhat on board and active due to the time fracture. His head is not so lifeless and is laying in the Protostar vehicle lab. The expanded overarching story of Prodigy is something which has still been engaging for me, though I do really want to see more lore and story given to us soon, as hopefully the end of the first half of season 1 won't leave us too hanging. That's a wrap on our weekly review for Stardate Prodigy. Catch your update on the Stardate universe in yesterday's video, including information about Prodigy, as well as new details for Star Trek Lower Decks, and of course Strange New Worlds. Of course, also let us know in the comment section below what you think of the latest episode, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Like always, if you do want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from myself and the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media, visit our website, or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for joining me on the Star Trek Prodigy review, and I'll see you next week. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.